No complaints are not good. I'd rather have someone that's complaining than someone that's not complaining, because they're complaining to someone. If they're not talking to you, they're talking to someone else.
Evaluate what's happening so that you can get the type of cleaning business growth that you're looking for in 2026.
I need to learn how to bid, how to quote. I need to step up and say, I really don't understand how to measure square footage. I don't understand how to sell to people. I need to get better at that. That's where you need to look at yourself, because if you get better, then your employees are going to get better. Your business is going to succeed more.
For many of you, you're either confronted by what you don't know, or you're confronted by having people not know that you don't. The superpower that you can take on this year is going to be vulnerability. "2026 is right around the corner, and if you want your cleaning business to grow, boost profits, and run smoother than ever, this episode is for you. Today, we're talking about New Year's resolutions, specifically for cleaning business owners, practical goals you can actually put into action to make this year your most successful yet. Whether you run residential, commercial, or specialty cleaning, we're covering ways to streamline operations, retain more clients, increase profits, and explore high-value services, all without overcomplicating things."
So let's talk about the first thing we talked about is streamlining operations, because that's really a money-saving thing. If you can streamline your operations, that's a money-saving thing for us, at least.
Yep.
For a lot of all of you, and you're like, well, if you're a owner-operator, you're like, well, what do you mean streamline operations? It's just me, bud, or it's me and my crew. So one process, we can do things as simple as onboarding, scheduling, tracking your supplies, that kind of stuff. Just streamload operations, or streamline, not streamload. Early on, I think in our business, I think the streamloading operations for us is making sure that one person, when they're showing up to a building, can get the information they need. So like measuring floors, measuring carpet, measuring tile, all that kind of stuff when the initial sale comes in. So I'm not paying someone else to go out when Susie says, "Hey, I got to get the carpets clean." You're like, "Oh, damn, I got to go measure." Then they just measure the one room.
Yep.
That kind of stuff for us is streamlining in a way that you could actually monetize, right?
Yeah, I mean, I also want to give this a little bit of context, because before we get like too deep into some of these things, because how many times have you had a resolution that you never completed? And maybe you're not the right person to ask this, but
I mean, we always talk about this with like New Year's a lot. Like, oh, I'm going to make a New Year's resolution. We'll write them down. But then I also have that theory, like my resolution is not done till it's done. You know what I mean? Like, so if it takes more than 12 months, because, it's a difficult situation. I guess everybody has ones that they've never done. Like, oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Maybe that's one of mine. Who knows? Let me know in the comments. And
that's messed up, bro.
You never know, right? So maybe that's your New Year's resolution. It takes you longer than a year. But as far as business goes, we have this saying in my house: you need to lock it in. Well, you need to lock it in.
What I'm going to say is this, right? All of the things we're going to be discussing on today's podcast are going to be like, you could look at it and be like, this is some boring stuff. Like, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do that. And I know I need to do this. Yeah. So confronting is a great way of putting it. But you have goals. We're gonna talk about things you could do to improve your business. But ultimately, you have a goal, whatever your personal goal is in being a business owner. And a lot of people, it's going to be things like time, more profit. That profit means more money in your pocket. All of those kind of things. But what are you going to do with the time? What are you going to do with the profit? Because if you're sitting here looking at, I've got to choose one thing that I'm going to streamline this year in my operations. If it's like you said, I've got to get someone to measure all the buildings, and do that so that it's consistent, that I'm not having to send somebody back out to measure it when they ask for a specialty services job. What you're really doing is that you're saving money.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're adding to that professionalism. I want to quote now. Okay.
Which means retention.
Yep.
And so if your focus is cleaning business efficiency, and having some sort of workflow within your commercial cleaning, you have a commercial cleaning workflow. If you're going to do those things, they're boring, and you're like, I don't want to do that. And it may not be right away. I mean, you might justify like this right now and be like, Well, yeah, I want to do that. It makes sense. Absolutely. Well, that's where resolutions fail, is because when things get hard or you get distracted, you go back to, I don't really care. So if
we're making money.
Yeah. And if your goal is that I want to be able to retire by the time I'm, X age, and this is what it's going to take to get there, and you have a plan on how you're going to do that. If profitability and your income increases, then maybe you can accelerate that, or you can actually meet that goal. You're going to go back when you're like, I don't want to confront somebody about going out and making sure that they measure all the buildings when they go out on a sales call, because it's uncomfortable. Well, now you're going to go back and say like, well, because I want to retire at 50 or 60 or whatever the age is. And the only way I can do that is that I'm profitable enough. And so I'm going to be uncomfortable and I'm going to go have that conversation. So yes, I go back to psychology and looking at what is the difference? How are you going to make things happen? Because we have to do hard things better than other people. And streamlining, yes, I recommend that you look at the things that are sucking your profit out.
Yeah, especially with the commercial cleaning workflow. Like, people don't look at it like us, like they do everything else. Like when let's say you're calling somebody and you're going to order something, how they always check your address, your name, is all your contact information correct? That's our workflow.
Yeah.
Your address, your name. Yeah, we have that. Do we have anything else? Okay, well, now this is going to bing because we don't have any of their measurements. We don't have any of this. We don't have any. So now we can't sell to that.
Yeah.
So it's always that workflow that is focused towards, cleaning business efficiencies, but also focused towards, how am I going to sell? How am I going to make more money on this? What's it going to make me make more money quickly where I'm not having to pay, let's say, Matt to go measure? Yeah. Again, where Matt can just sit there and be like, hey, they just called. Okay, that's $200. Bam, over, done. I can move to the next one.
Yep.
Right. He's chasing stuff that's bigger now.
Quick update. Starting January 1st, our Mighty Network is getting a brand new membership structure.
Monthly members get access to group discussions, group coaching, the 10-day prospecting challenge, and the prospecting guide.
And the full library, all courses, toolkits, templates, guides, plus monthly product launches is moving to the annual membership.
And here's the best part. From January 1st through January 31st, you can get 20% off the annual plan.
That's a 40% total savings. January is the time to join.
And then it's like evaluating profitability. I know, Matt, that's something that we do a lot here. Like, profitability is a huge thing because we have this saying, like, you can lose big or you can lose small. It's still just a loss.
Yep.
So,
I mean, the beginning of the year is a great time to, you should be doing your budgets in November and December and looking at, what works, what doesn't work, which is going to be I really is going to be all of the things. Like, what works, what doesn't work, what should I stop doing, and what should I refine? Like that should be all the things that we're looking at when we're talking about this thing. But with profitability, you start with, where is money coming in, right? And if money's coming in with accounts, then evaluate, like, how many of those are outside of the renewal period? How many of those are profitable and not profitable based on labor costs and materials? And those then give you a list of places that you should go and talk to the contacts and say, hey, we're not making enough money here, or it's just time for a renewal.
Yeah, or just even a cost of living increase.
Yeah, just a cost of living increase. But this is where people fail, and we are no different. We have times where we go a year plus, without renewing contracts, and then we have clients who will say, like, you need to renew me every year so that we can have predictable increases.
Because I have to go to a board and show my increases every year. You can't give me a 22 because you didn't. 22% because you didn't do it for 5 years. That don't work.
Yeah. So your evaluation of profitability is essential. I mean, it's for you to increase, your cleaning revenue. And
and the same thing for like that, Matt, we were talking about like the commercial cleaning workflow and getting all of the information about windows and all this. In another podcast, we talked about like those easy niche cleaning things that you can do to increase your profits. This is a great time now to be like, okay, do I have that? Do I know if they have carpet work? How can I even talk to them about it if I don't know if they have window cleaning? We've never done it over there. Now's the time to open up all of your books and be like, okay, we do everything here because XYZ, account manager is doing a great job,
right?
Where this guy's just not. he's just not telling them. He's just like, okay, they're paying, so they're good.
Yeah. If you're looking at like, I've got to go out and get more business because I need to make more money, that's fine. But to your point, absolutely. If you're getting cost of living increases on an average of 3%, that's fantastic. But now you can look at what if you could increase your profitability with your existing clients by 9 to 12%, because you're adding
maybe more if you're not doing
or more, because you're adding on the specialty services work. I mean, that's low hanging fruit, but you've got to, evaluate what's happening so that you can get the type of cleaning business growth that you're looking for in 2026, that you actually get a plan in place. And so start with your existing operations. What's working, what's not working. What do I stop? What do I refine? Evaluate where you're at with your current customers, where your revenue comes in, where it could come in, and then make a plan for that.
And know what your most profitable cleaning services are. Know what they are. Get your most profitable cleaning services and be like, we make 70% on window cleaning.
Yes.
That's one of my most profitable cleaning services. I need to hit that. Yep. Because I don't know how many companies I talk to and they're like, yeah, we clean next door and we do all their stuff. And then the people next door were like, we clean over here too, but we don't do any of that. I didn't know you did that. I'm like, come on. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So, and then, the other thing is that revenue, right? We've talked a lot about that, how to streamline, the operations, but it's going to be, where's another expense? And we should see that, this is a partnership, asset, et cetera. However you want to, put that in quotes. I know that, different generations have different ways of looking at, what it means to be an employee, but your job as an employer is to make sure that your teams are well equipped, and that they're trained to the maximum, right? They're given the resources that they deserve, and they will give back to you. That is an investment that you must, work on, is your team and training.
Yeah.
And so, cleaning,
especially with their employee retention, they're going to want to stay.
Yes.
They know you're taking care of them.
So training cleaning staff should be a big part of your goals for 2026. And really looking at how you're going to do your cleaning business staff management. What systems are you putting in place for them? Evaluating how each of them are doing. Right.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how is Joe doing? How is, Bob doing?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to do that with training. There's a lot of like competencies. You can create a competency sheet that way they're having. So like, how do I get a raise? Well, you got to get your competencies here, here, and here. And this is how you excel in the company. And a lot of that is just, your business staff management. Like, how am I going to do my clean business staff management? Well, I imagine you get this way. You can't have a system in there that's like, oh, well, I think that, Joe got a raise because Matt really likes Joe. Well, I mean, I was like, no. Actually, why Joe got a raise is because Joe's been doing all of his competencies. He's been training. He's been coming in. And that's why Joe's got a raise.
So it's objective.
So it's not he just likes him more.
Yeah. And this could also be the time that you in that evaluation of employees that you're building a plan out on who you want to, train up, who you want to replace, all of those kind of things happen. Use this opportunity to set the goals that you have personally. Number one. Number two is that how does your business support that? And so it's growing revenue, reducing expense. And so that's why team and training, because they're the ones who, your biggest, other than maybe health insurance. Well, I wouldn't even say that. The biggest expense line that you have on your P&L, on your expense report, is payroll. So you've got to train your folks so that you can get more efficient. As far as client experience and retention goes, which would be the next step that we would be looking at, is identifying how do you enhance the experience that these people are getting. And I think that's where you have some struggles at times with the existing clients. They're like, if they're not complaining, they're not a problem, right? Well, no, they actually could be a problem down the road if you don't pay attention to them. So
I always tell them, like, no complaints are not good. I'd rather have someone that's complaining than someone that's not complaining.
Yeah.
Because they're complaining to someone. If they're not talking to you, they're talking to someone else.
They're talking to your competition. So you want to improve your communication. You want to work through identifying how people want to be communicated with. You may be comfortable only sending people text messages, right? Yeah. But maybe the people you're talking to are from a different generation and they actually want you to pick up the phone and talk to them.
Or come see them. Or
they want to have an email or, so your improvement around this would be going and talking to your clients and identifying the best way or the way they want to be communicated with, as an example.
And I'm going to ask you a question because this is something that I know we deal with a lot, but specifically now we always talk about setting measurable targets for retention. And people will be like, why have I have a retention goal of 0% in 2026?
Yeah.
That's something where if you could talk to a little bit about the people listening about how would you set a retention goal? If let's say you're at a company and we're losing an average of 2 accounts per month and each account, I don't know, you can make that up. What should your end of the year, let's say each account's $500 and you're losing 2 a month and you're only gaining, let's say
1 at 500.
Let's say 3.
Well,
let's say you're getting 3, losing 2. Well, so your retention goal should be what? Which isn't good, I know. But if you're looking at that math, saying, okay, my retention goal should be X, Y, Z, because people will automatically say, you know what, it's an all or nothing. It's 100% or nothing.
Well, the measurement of a retention goal should come from renewals. It shouldn't come from who stayed and who left. If you really want to have a retention goal, the measurable outcomes should be how many of those people actually signed a new contract for the next 12 months. So that's how I would do it. But if you're losing 2 and gaining 3,
the ship is sinking.
Then how can you float if you got a hole in the boat, right? I mean, you got to work on a lot more. And if any of you are having that kind of problem, OctoClean Media is your friend.
It is available.
We should be talking a lot on OctoCleanMedia.com. You should join as a member and we should figure out what's going on within your business because
you're having service consistency issues. You're probably, your cleaning client retention's terrible.
Yeah. If you're 1 for 1, even if you're 1 for, you're losing 1 and gaining 3. I mean, it's normal. There's going to be problems, right?
But it shouldn't have that many.
So definitely want to look at that and how you could work on your client experience and retention goals for 2026. And I would say number 1 is you have a resource. It's called OctoCleanMedia.com. And then the 5th one that we would be looking at pillar would be, really try something new. And this would be about how do I grow my existing revenue? And in another podcast, we talked about specialty services, and I would encourage you to watch that, either now or in the future. I'm not sure how it's going to stack out. But you want to see where you can capitalize on high value niches. And that would be to us would be specialty services work, doing things within your current customers' contracts that you are not doing. So what's your goal around that? What tools are you going to buy? What training do you need?
Now is definitely the time to look at that. Like, what tools do I need to buy before the end of the year? What do I need to do there?
Yeah.
What training do I need? And that's the thing I think a lot of business owners don't really realize. They're like, I'll look at training for my employees, but then you need to look at yourself. Like, what do I need to do better?
Yes.
Right. And I know that I take this on a lot for myself because growing up, I don't want to say I wasn't the smartest, because smart, by other people's means is measured differently.
Yes.
But like book smart, I wasn't that great. So I knew hey, I got to go out and I got to go to school. Right. Maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe what I need to do is who knows what I need to learn how to bid, how to quote. I need to step up and say, I really don't understand how to measure square footage. I don't understand how to sell to people. I need to get better at that. That's where you need to look at yourself, because if you get better, then your employees are going to get better. Your business is going to succeed more. So keep that in mind too. It's not just about your employees. It's also about yourself, and take a deep dive into looking at yourself. And one of our actionable items is test a tool that improves your efficiency. I'm going to put a shout out to my boy over at Orange QC. That's something that we've really used for our teams to improve their efficiencies, because they're using that now as a quick, I'm going to take my notes and it goes to everybody and it's done.
Yeah.
So that's a simple tool that's not costly. and it can track it. It can do everything you're looking for, and it's can help you make that high profit cleaning services, all of those. Oh, well, the windows look dirty, and you can sit in your office and be like, hey, you know what? James was at the building and I saw his report and those windows are filthy, but James didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Then you can call, hey, I saw, your window cleaning, you can pull people aside so it makes it smoother. So that's something that I want to, shout out to you guys is like, don't be afraid of new stuff. Now, don't jump into everything new either.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have a focus, and, I'm encouraged by this type of podcast. The time of year is important that, folks are taking the time doing the inventory, figuring out what they want to do, for 2026. But, I think the biggest thing that we all need to work on when it comes to the, better me, better we is, for many of you, you're either confronted by what you don't know, or you're confronted by, having people not know that you don't.
Yeah.
So the superpower that you can take on this year, is going to be vulnerability. And so if you choose to take that on, one great way to demonstrate that is to get into a platform, a forum of your peers. And that's going to be that encouragement. OctoClean Media is a great spot for you. Using the messages or the sending comments,
direct
here,
message, whatever you want to call it.
This is a great place too. Knowledge is not scarce. It's really what it boils down to is execution. So what we are proud of within our platform, and what we are proud of and what we get to give to you guys, is assistance in executing. And getting outcomes. That's what matters, right? The rest of this stuff is just knowledge. You can watch this YouTube podcast and all the other stuff that Greg and I and, the marketing team that does a fantastic job, Jordan, doing a great job. Andrea, we can do all those things. Thank everybody for that. But ultimately what we stand for is that you get some shit done, right? That's what we stand for. So, excited about this year, and I'm a firm believer of write down what you want to get done. Yes. Write it down.
Write it down. And then you look next year, be like, oh, we did all that.
Yeah. Well, and you would be amazed at what, because you might forget what you wrote down. If you look at it at the end of the year, you're going to be like, wow, I actually did get that done, because when you write it down, it happens.
It becomes real.
So I want to wish everybody here a happy new year, and for a successful year in business. Don't forget that we're here for you, help you succeed, because we do want to transform this janitorial industry that we all work in. This is the year that we all get to do that. So thank you so much for watching all of our episodes in 2025, and we're looking forward to doing a great job in 2026 for all of you. So until we see you next time, we'll see you later.